Hello and welcome back to the C1 Cybersecurity Posture Assessment. This video will cover questions 59 through 68. Does the district have a process for posture checking of devices as they connect to the network, such as current anti-malware software, firewall enabled, operating system patch level, etc.? Score 0 if your organization does not posture check devices. Score 1 if your organization has minimally implemented posture checking. Score 2 if your organization has partially implemented posture checking. 3 if it is implemented for the most part. Or 4 if it is fully and optimally implemented. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Are host-based firewalls or port filtering tools applied to end-user systems with the default deny rule that drops all traffic except those services and ports that are explicitly allowed? Score 0 if your organization has not implemented these defenses. Score 1 if your organization has implemented these defenses on some systems. Score 2 if the organization has implemented these defenses on the majority of systems. 3 if your organization has implemented these defenses on almost all systems. Or 4 if they are implemented on all of your systems. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district perform periodic external penetration testing? Definitions here are: white box means that internal structure, design, and implementation of the items being tested is known to the user. Gray box means that some information is known to the user but not all. And black box means the internal structure, design, and implementation of the items being tested is not known to the tester. Score 1 point if testing is conducted at least annually, or 1/2 point if it is conducted at least biannually. Add 1 point if it is a white box test, or add 1/2 point if it is a gray box test. Add 1 point if the scope of the test includes all critical systems. Add 1 point if after the penetration test, the risk is calculated for every identified vulnerability and the vulnerabilities that exceed the organization's risk tolerance are remediated. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does a district maintain an inventory of service accounts? This inventory should include the department owner, review date and purpose. An account should be validated quarterly. Score 1 point if your organization maintains an inventory. Add 1/2 point if the inventory contains at least 2 required elements, or 1 point if it contains all 3 elements, or 1 1/2 points if it contains all 3 elements plus additional elements. Add 1/2 point if the inventory is validated at least annually, or 1 1/2 points if it is validated at least quarterly. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district have perimeter protection in place? Firewall, next generation firewall, intrusion protection system, etc. Score 0 if your organization has no perimeter protection. Score 1 if your organization has minimal perimeter protection, such as a rules-based firewall. Score 2 if your organization has adequate perimeter protection, such as a next generation firewall. Or 4 if your organization has optimized perimeter protection, such as a next generation firewall plus intrusion prevention. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Are students segmented from teachers and administrators, either physically or with VLANs? Score 0 if students are not segmented from teachers and administrators. Score 1 if students are partially segmented from teachers and administrators, such as only at one campus or only at some campuses. Or 4 if students are fully segmented from teachers and administrators district-wide. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Are auxiliary devices, HVAC controllers, security cameras, Internet of Things, etc., segmented on the network, either physically or with VLANs? Score 0 if your organization does not segment auxiliary devices. Score 1 if your organization segments some auxiliary devices. Score 2 if your organization segments the majority of auxiliary devices. 3 if your organization segments almost all auxiliary devices. Or 4 if your organization segments all auxiliary devices. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district maintain documented security configuration standards for all network devices? As delivered from manufacturers and resellers, the default configurations for enterprise assets are normally geared towards ease of deployment and ease of use rather than security. Basic controls, open services and ports, default accounts or passwords, pre-configured DNS settings, older and vulnerable protocols can all be exploited if left in their default state. Score 0 if your organization does not maintain documented security configuration standards for network devices. Score 1 if your organization maintains documented security configuration standards for some network devices. 2 if your organization maintains documented security configuration standards for the majority of network devices. 3 if your organization maintains documented security configuration standards for almost all network devices. Or 4 if your organization maintains documented security configuration standards for all network devices. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district install the latest stable security-related updates on all network devices? Hackers closely follow identified vulnerabilities in network hardware and actively seek out devices with identified vulnerabilities that have not been patched in order to leverage the vulnerability to gain access. Score 0 if your organization does not install the latest stable updates of network devices. Score 1 if your organization only updates network devices when forced to. Score 2 if your organization updates network devices quarterly but not consistently. 3 if your organization updates network devices monthly, consistently. Or 4 if your organization updates network devices consistently on a weekly basis. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. Does the district maintain network diagrams and other network documents, and are these documents reviewed and updated? Score 0 if your organization does not maintain diagrams and other network documents. Score 1 if your organization has 25% or less of the network documented. Score 2 if your organization has documented 30 to 75% of the network. 3 if the organization has documented 80% or more of the network. And 4 if your organization has documented 100% of the network and it is updated annually and when changes occur. Pause the video now in order to consider and record your answer before continuing. You are now finished with questions 59 through 68. The next video will be Cyber Posture Assessment Slides 08. You can start that now or take a break and continue with the posture assessment later.